from Yalta, the Crimea, and the Russian Federation. This is Dateline News and Conversation. My guest tonight is a very accomplished author and television producer personality. She's living in the Pacific Northwest. I'll introduce her and bring her in just a moment. The topic tonight, oh my goodness. Joseph Biden, with 2 months left in his administration, authorizes deep strikes of long-range missiles into Russia. The gaslighting that is going on everywhere is incredible. And when I say gaslighting, I mean gaslighting a nuclear war. NATO countries are preparing their populations for war. That's a headline, a major headline that I'm reading on RT today. So we're going to discuss this thoroughly. This most recent, very reckless, very stupid escalation by Joseph Biden 2 months before he goes out of office. I don't really care why he did it. If it was to mess up Trump, to leave Trump with a huge problem when he starts, doesn't matter. It happened. And now everybody is waiting for Russia's response. The second part of the show, we're going to discuss Trump's picks. People he's already picked for his cabinet, and it really looks to me like more war. My guest tonight, Deborah Armstrong. Deborah, welcome back to the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me again, Regis.
Well, it's a pleasure because I have so much respect for you. I just want
That feeling's mutual.
I just want my viewers to realize that you worked in the Soviet Union, and you worked on television and as a reporter. Briefly tell me again, because I know the background, but our audience, what the heck were you doing, and exactly when were you in the evil empire?
Well, I'm in the evil empire now, that being the United States.
Yeah, I know that.
I'm in the belly of the beast. But actually, when I was in the Soviet Union, it was in 1991. I went there in January of 1991, which was the last year of the Soviet Union, because that summer of 91 was when there was a coup, of course, in August of 1991. And that was shortly after that, the Soviet Union was dissolved. So I was there during that time, and that was a very interesting time, of course, to be there. I was sent there as part of a humanitarian project by the Worldwide Church of God, which is now a defunct organization. It was an organization which my uncle, Herbert W. Armstrong, founded long ago. He was one of the first televangelists. Actually, he was a radio evangelist in the United States back in the 1930s. And of course, he died in 1984. But I was part of that organization in my 20s. I got out of that organization later in my 20s and returned to the United States and became a television reporter here. But I had been working in television in St. Petersburg because I had previous experience working for The World Tomorrow, which was his television program. I hope that is some clarification.
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you for that. All right, now let's get to the topic, of the day, maybe of this era. Joseph Biden announced the approval for Ukraine to fire long-range missiles into Russia, which Putin has been warning, don't do. Simultaneously, almost simultaneously, Macron in France and whoever that guy is in England also approved using their missiles, their Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles, giving Ukraine permission to fire those. Last night, Ukraine fired the first volley of 6 ATACMS, ATACMS, American-made long-range missiles into the Bryansk region of Russia. They were all shot down. Yeah. Deborah, first off, what are your thoughts on the one hand, and is there any reaction in the United States about this reckless escalation? I'm really curious to know both of those. First, your thoughts on this action. And second of all, what do you think the rest of the people in the United States are thinking? Take it away.
Well, I stayed up last night. I generally work at night anyway, but I was up last night watching quite a number of different commentaries. I don't know if the average person in the United States even understands what's happening. I can't really speak for them, but I can certainly say that I listened to some statements by Ray McGovern, who, of course, is a 27-year veteran of the CIA, who since became a whistleblower and founder of Veterans VIPS, which is Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity. I watched what Scott Ritter had to say. And of course, he was a nuclear weapons inspector, chief nuclear weapons inspector for the UN in Iraq back in the day, and a number of other different individuals who really know what's going on. I listened to what they had to say. And it's as to speculating on the reasons why he did it, my guess would be that it was to make a stumbling block for Trump, to make it almost impossible for him to pull out of the Ukraine war, which of course he ran his platform, his campaign on saying that he would pull us out of, or that he would end the war in Ukraine. He would finish it. I'm not really sure quite what he means by that, but I guess we'll find out. It's obviously a reckless, incredibly reckless thing that Biden has done. And it's already happening. I mean, they've already, like you said, they launched one of these attackums into Bryansk Oblast in Russian. Now, what I understand about this is that these are medium range missiles, that they have a 190-mile range, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't want to say that unless I'm absolutely right, but that was what I was hearing last night. And so that they can't reach as far as Moscow, but they could reach where you are, Regis. They could reach you. They can reach areas within the Donbass. They can reach Lugansk. They can reach Donetsk, and they can reach deep within Russian territory, like they already have. And now, of course, Putin has updated the Russian nuclear doctrine to say that any conventional attack on Russia, because before it was just an existential threat to Russia, now it's any conventional attack on Russia, which would include these attackums, okay, is going to meet with a very severe response, which can be a nuclear response, which, since it has to be NATO trained troops that are actually coordinating and providing the information so that they can use these weapons, okay, it's those countries which he's going to hold responsible, not just Ukraine. So I think maybe that the Biden administration somehow believes that Putin and Russia is bluffing, which I'm sure you understand. Russians don't bluff a lot. Putin certainly does not. I would say he's, I don't know. I hope we make it to the time when Trump gets inaugurated in January. But it's pretty dicey right now, certainly.
Yeah. Well, they have short range but long range missiles, and the long range missiles can hit Moscow.
Okay.
And it is reckless, as you mentioned. The other thing I want to underscore is that the Ukrainians do not have the technical ability to fire those weapons. They do not have the coordinates for those weapons. It's all in the hands of, you say NATO, but it's the United States military that's there. It's the Brits, it's the French, and who knows what Germans are doing. So,
well, there's a reason that those three countries are known as France, UK, and US as fuck us.
yeah, you're right.
I know
So,
you'll probably have to bleep that out, but
no, I'm not going to bleep it out. But what it has done, and this is a big headline today on RT, Putin approving the new Russian nuclear doctrine, and he's encouraging all of the Western countries, all of the EU countries, and the United States to read that doctrine carefully. Now, I'm the guy that made the 2017 film 30 Seconds to Midnight, which posed the possibility of an existential threat of a nuclear war between the United States and Russia. And that's the reason why I came to Russia in 2016. I was very concerned then, and I'm very concerned now. But I have to say this. I am really upset, Deborah, with everybody, including RT and all of the so-called experts who are gaslighting the entire planet with the threat and fear-mongering of a nuclear war, World War III. It's everywhere. And I'm really upset with that. And I want to tell you why, and then I'll ask for your comments.
Okay.
Russia has many options well short of a nuclear retaliation or response. Russia knows, and they have to know, where all of those launch sites are located. They have
True.
intel on the ground, and they have satellite imagery. They can track all of this stuff. And I think that Russia is going to unleash another massive missile attack, as they've been doing increasingly all this week on these sites and others. Now, the second point I want to make is Russia can and will launch more massive strikes on the remaining infrastructure in Ukraine. They've been targeting the electrical grid, which most of Ukraine now is in the dark from what I'm reading, Ukraine's water supply, and Russia does not want to attack the bridges crossing the Dnieper River, I think for obvious reasons in the future, but Russia can and will tonight unleash another land, sea, and air missile strikes all over Ukraine. Right now, Russia is overwhelming what is left of the Ukrainian fighting forces all along the front lines. They are losing reportedly upwards of 1,500 troops a day dead, and goodness knows how many more are deserting and surrendering. And so there's not much left of Ukraine in this fight with or without any NATO support. And finally, people don't seem to realize this, but Russia has refrained from striking anything really of significance in Kiev. Russia's targets now will be Zelensky. They know where he's hiding. It will be their Rada, which is their Congress. It will be their SBU, their security services that have death threats out on people all over the world, maybe even you, Deborah. And I'm afraid that citizens in these coming strikes, unfortunately, will be collateral damage. Now, all of this could be done tonight by Russia. And the last point I want to make is Donald Trump's plan to end the conflict in Ukraine is a non-starter for Russia, period, non-starter. And what we're seeing now is all of these missile strikes, all of these increased attacks across the front line is Russia moving quickly before Trump takes office to end the conflict. Deborah, that was a bit of a rant, but I'd like your comments on what you think about what I've just posed.
Well, I think that's very interesting what you're saying about the nuclear gaslighting. I mean, yeah, it would make sense for Russia to respond directly to hopefully take out the ATACMs right where they are, the HIMARS that they launched them from, right? I mean, to take those out. And I mean, I don't know, they could obliterate Kiev if they wanted to. Of course, they've refrained from that. But at this point, I don't know. I mean, I'd be speculating to say I know what they're going to do. I don't. I mean, it would make logical sense to retaliate in a more conventional way rather than leaping right to nuclear war. And I do know that Putin and the Russian Defense Ministry have been quite prudent so far in that respect. They tried at the earlier part during the SMO portion, the special military operation portion of this conflict. They tried to reduce, not have too many civilian casualties, but of course now things are a little bit different. It's a war. Even according to Russia now, it's a war, and so it's it's going to be a tremendous loss of life one way or the other. I mean, I don't know where it will end. I mean, I live not too far from an American military base, so if nuclear war comes, I'm gone. And I would rather be gone. I don't want to live to see that. I don't want to see a nuclear war. I think the United States will be in very bad shape following that kind of a confrontation. I don't think Russia will be in as bad shape because, of course, they have those amazing defense units, the 400 series, and they can knock anything out of the sky, as they just demonstrated with knocking out those ATACMS that came down to Bryansk. So I'd be speculating to say I know how they're going to respond. I don't. I think that you've summed it up very nicely. And since you live there and you have more contact with people in Russia and with some, and congratulations, by the way, on your award, which was presented to you by none other than Sergei Lavrov. Speaking of your connections, I think that you probably are more qualified to speculate on that than I am.
Well, I'm really not. But by the way, Lavrov didn't present the award. He signed it.
Signed it.
And it was
Sorry.
presented by somebody else from the foreign ministry. But thank you for
But in any
mentioning
case,
that.
he gave it to you. It was his award to you,
Well,
correct?
I don't think he even knows who I am, quite frankly, but somebody through whatever and whoever requested that the foreign ministry present this particular award for promoting peace. And
Oh, you're humble, but I think he knows. I think he's aware of who you are because you've done all these movies. I mean, what, 400 films that you've done?
yeah, it's more than that. Not films, videos, films, and podcasts like this. There's over 450
Sure.
now. Anyway, I want to get back to this topic we're talking
Okay.
about and the threat of nuclear war. The
Right.
United States knows very well that Russia has these advanced uh, hypersonic missiles which cannot be
Mhm.
tracked and cannot be shot down. The United States knows it, and the United States,
Yep.
number one, does not have these hypersonic missiles. They're still trying to test
No.
them. And the United States does not have the ability to track them. So
No.
Russia has these missiles they can launch from silos in Russia. They can
Or
launch
from the
them from,
Poseidon subs.
yeah, they can launch them from submarines and ships. Uh, and Russia has submarines, nuclear powered, nuclear capable submarines off of both U.S. coasts.
Yep.
The United
That's
States
true.
has no ability to stop what Russia could unleash on the United States of America. The
And
Pentagon,
it'll take 7 minutes, Regis, 7 minutes from launch to impact. Boom. That's how
well,
fast it will happen.
well,
Folks won't have time to get away to their shelters,
yeah, yeah.
their golden bunkers. They're not going to get there. They won't have time to drink a mocha. I mean, they'll be lucky if they have enough time to kiss their ass goodbye. I'm sorry to put it that bluntly, but this is where we're at.
Well, I completely agree, and I think the Pentagon knows this. They have
Yeah.
war gamed. They have war gamed a potential conflict with Russia and China, and they've lost in every single one of those war games that they've played. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, these are reasons why I don't think that there's going to be a nuclear confrontation, a nuclear war. And I would say this, that if there is a nuclear exchange, it will be because there are dark, evil forces behind what is happening all across the globe today. And I don't just mean the conflicts between Israel and the other axis of resistance in the Middle East, Taiwan, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Uh, what is happening is an attack on our basic humanity. And that
Yeah.
attack on our basic humanity can only be from an evil source. So I'll leave it at that for now. Um, I want to transition now, because it's directly related, to Donald Trump. Uh,
Mm.
Now, I haven't voted, and I have to keep saying this, since the first Obama scam. I got scammed by Obama the first time, as did millions of people in America and around the
Yep.
world. But I haven't voted
I
since then.
voted for him too. Sorry.
Yeah, and you probably realize, as I have, that it's the system that is corrupt, is rotten, it's infiltrated and taken over
100%.
by the Zionists. Um, but Donald Trump won. And I have to tell you, I was at a conference in Moscow over the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th of this month. And on the eve of the election, I showed up at the conference location in Moscow, and everyone was talking about the election. Everyone wanted to know if I thought Trump was going to win. And then the first day of the conference was the 5th, but the second day was the 6th, and the results had already been reported. And it was known that Trump had won. And there was a great deal of conversation about this. There are many people, and people at this conference, by the way, came from something like 30 or 40 different countries. Uh, Many people thought Trump was a hopeful sign. They thought maybe things will be different because he's not a politician, he's a businessman. On the other hand, most Russians know that nothing will change. Your thoughts
Yep.
now, first on Donald Trump's election. What's your reaction?
Honestly, I had no horse in this race. Okay. I mean, I voted for Jill Stein this time, the Green Party candidate, because I will not vote for a candidate who is totally okay with what Israel's doing to Gaza, for starters, not to mention what's going on in Ukraine. I mean, and Kamala is totally okay with the genocide in Gaza, as is Trump. In fact, Trump even as much as said that if you don't like Israel, you should just leave the US. And this whole Israel, I don't know, the tail wagging the dog, so to speak. Um, I wouldn't vote in good conscience. I could not vote for either one of those candidates. So it was a for me. I thought I predicted. I thought possibly Kamala would win just because she had so much support from all the neocons. You have people like Dick Cheney, and so they're all saying, "Oh yeah, she's their pick, right?" And so I thought she'd probably win because I don't know how much of the elections are rigged. I know there's some rigging going on because there's votes that turn up missing, ballots that turn up missing, and somehow Jill Stein never quite gets that 5%. Why is that? I don't know. I know a lot more people were voting for her this time around than before in previous elections when she's run. But Trump, I think in some ways, I mean, I get that his followers, I get that they really want this, they think that there's this change, that he'll clean the swamp, but he didn't do it the last time he was in there, and he's not going to do it this time because he's part of the swamp. And that's just my opinion on it. I mean, he escalated things with Russia, as a matter of fact. The last time he was in office, he took us out of the SMART treaty, right? So I just don't see how he's going to. And then you look at his cabinet picks, most of which are neocons. Mark Rubio is Secretary of State. I mean, Kissinger would approve of that, wouldn't he? I mean, these are more neocons. I don't know. The only one I have any real hope for is Tulsi Gabbard, who's going to be the director of national intelligence. I have a little hope for her that she might shake things up, but she's going to, of course, be under Trump's thumb, because at any point he can just, take them out of their positions that he's put them into. And I just have a feeling that even if she tries to get some things done, they're going to bump heads. And that honeymoon is going to end, where she's been saying that Trump is a great guy and everything. I think that honeymoon's going to end. So I hate to sound so cynical. I really do. I wish I could just believe that Trump is going to save us all, and he's going to get rid of the neocons, and he's going to end the threat of war, and he's going to just be this great, I wish I could believe that, but I just can't, Regis. I can't believe it.
Yeah, before we get into the cabinet picks, uh,
Okay.
I want to give my impression because I didn't follow this election very closely. I mean, I wasn't paying
Right.
attention what was going on every single day. Um,
Me
but
either, to
but
be honest.
what I think happened is Trump tapped into something very deep and painful to a vast number of Americans, maybe a majority.
Yeah.
The pain that
Yeah.
they're feeling, the pain that they're feeling, number one, they feel they've been disowned by the government, been lied to, been betrayed. They're feeling it at the
Mhm.
pump. Everybody I talk to, my
Mhm.
friends, and last night, Bruce Gagnon up in Brunswick, Maine, one of my best friends, was talking about how difficult it is at the gas pump, how difficult it is at the grocery store. He's living in Maine,
Yep.
winter is approaching, how much it's going to cost for fuel. And
Yep.
he's not a wealthy person. He's the co-founder of an NGO, an international organization, but he lives a very simple, frugal life. And I think that what really happened is there's a majority of Americans, obviously, who voted. He won the popular vote by quite a margin.
Yeah.
It was impossible to rig it to that extent. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that he won the approval of the majority of American people uh, in this particular election. We're talking about how and why Trump won. Um, I know you were going to mention something about anger, that the American
Angry vote.
population is angry. Let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Um, they're angry about the things that I've just talked about, but these people, so-called conservatives, are angry about all of this wokeism,
Oh yeah.
transgenderism, uh,
Yep.
drag queens in front of first graders doing storytelling or whatever it is. I think the
Yep.
American public is really fed up with a lot of what's happening to destroy what they consider traditional
Yeah.
human and American values. Your thoughts?
I would say you're spot on with that. I think a lot of people are very angry. I think a lot of the anger is misplaced. I think that they don't, a lot of people are just angry. I mean, they're pushed. They're working what, three jobs? Some people are, just to pay their rent. And rent is exorbitant right now. And houses, the cost of housing, I can't believe the cost of housing. I mean, a shack, in the city of Spokane, which is it's not a huge city, it's like a medium-sized city. A shack in that city now is going for 400, $500,000. Okay, just 5 years ago, maybe 100 grand. Now 500 grand. And the prices just, they don't seem to want to come down. And a big problem we're having is the corporations are buying up all the houses, right? And so they can rent them at exorbitant prices. Rent, you want a one bedroom apartment, I remember they were $400 for a long time. I could rent an apartment for $400. Now it's like, $1,300, $1,800, $2,000 for just a little apartment. People can't live. And yeah, like you were saying, at the pumps, the gasoline costs, shopping, just got grocery shopping. What was once $20 is like 120 now. It's unbelievable how expensive everything has become, and how little our money can do for us anymore. And it keeps getting worse. And you look at healthcare. My husband and I, we were bankrupt because of his heart transplant. My husband had a heart transplant back in 2009 after a 3-year illness, which damaged his heart. He caught a virus, apparently. It damaged his heart. He had to have a heart transplant. We owed $500,000, and that was with excellent insurance. Okay, the best insurance. I was paying his Cobra. It was 2 grand a month for his Cobra. Okay, and we still ended up owing 500 grand. So of course we had to go bankrupt. We lost our house. We lost everything. And our house now would probably be worth about 5 times what it was. I don't know. It's nuts. And it's, unrestrained capitalism is the way I see it. It's just they're not reining in these billionaires. And now you've got Trump, and he's got Musk. He's establishing Musk, what, to straighten out all the government overspending and everything. I it's very, what you're saying about the wokeism. Yes, it's gone too far. And whenever corporations join in a movement, it's always suspect. And there's money to be made from sex changes, money to be made from, even from giving hormone treatments to younger people, which they're finding ways to do this without the parents' permission. And there's concerns about that. I mean, I tend to be very liberal when it comes to gender. I think if somebody is an adult and they want to be transsexual, then that's their choice, right? But there also has to be real world consequences for that choice. And not everyone's going to accept it. And you can't force them to, because it won't work. You force somebody to believe something, they're not going to. So it's almost fascist the way they're pushing this onto people. And as far as drag queens reading in school, the liberal viewpoint on that is, well, it could be worse. It could be, it's not like they're prostitutes or something. And it's like, okay, but why sexualize things with kids? They're very sexual. They're wearing outfits, which it's a sexual thing. And it's like, why do that with the little kids? Just have adults in there that aren't. I'm not saying this very well, Regis, but to me, it's just, it doesn't seem appropriate to me. And I'm saying this as a liberal, where I don't, I go out to a karaoke bar where there's trans people that perform there, and I can talk with them and get along with them fine. I don't have any issue with them, and most of them are very nice to me. Okay, but would I want them in a preschool reading to kids? No, because their orientation is I just, it's too hard to explain that to a kid. Why even go there?
Yeah.
I just don't know.
You
I'll
know,
probably get hit for saying these things, but that's how I feel about it.
no, well, I'll say this, living in Russia now for 5 years, and I've been coming here
Yeah.
almost every year since 2016. Russia is fighting very hard to protect traditional Christian family values. And
Yeah.
the difference is, and you talk to most any Russian, you'll say, well, what's your opinion about like gay marriage? And they will say, you know what? If there's two adults and that's what they want, that's fine. Just
Yeah.
keep it to your own bedroom. And
Exactly.
the Russian position in law is pretty much okay with a lot of this, but do not try to publicize it, to
Yeah.
proselytize, and to educate and influence children. That is Russia's red line. And if you
Yeah.
cross it, you will be prosecuted and you'll be put in jail.
Yeah.
And I
And
can
you'll go
tell
to
you this.
jail.
I can tell you this. Uh, Russia is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious culture, but
Yes, it is.
orthodoxy is the strongest and the largest.
Yes.
And orthodoxy is fighting back against all of these encroachments, which they call liberalism from the West, from the United States. And I'm happy to see that, but I have to tell you
Yeah.
this: the Muslim population, which here is very large, very, very large, is also very conservative when it comes to these neoliberal values. That I think, Deborah, what's really behind it is an attempt to destroy, beginning with the family, and then what's left of our humanity. I really believe that it is an attack on our basic humanity, transhumanism. You can see that
Yeah.
from Klaus Schwab and his World Economic Forum. You will have nothing, you will eat bugs, and you'll be happy. What what kind of a human? Yeah, what kind of a human
No.
existence is that? So
And Elon
anyway,
Musk wants to make robots that can carry our babies for us.
yeah,
Like, how
yeah,
messed up is that?
yeah. I know this. It's really disturbing, a lot of that stuff. But let's
Yeah.
get back to some of his picks, Donald Trump's picks. And he's got Elon Musk and Vijay Vasislami. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but he's a brilliant man. They're going to clean up the waste and bureaucracy of government. Now, when I heard that,
But
I go, yeah, I'd be all for that. Let's clean it up. Let's remove all the waste from the Pentagon. And but you know what? I'm not sure what that really is
mm,
all about. I'm not sure if they're going to take a look at and go after the social safety net. If they're not going to go after Social Security, I'm really concerned about a lot of this.
oh, yeah.
But you mentioned Tulsi. Now, Tulsi is
Yeah.
everybody's sweetheart. Um,
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I'm ambivalent about Tulsi because of her stance on Gaza. Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted.
well, I am as well, and I'm not sure she'd like to end the war in Ukraine, but I think she is one of these people who insists that Putin provoked it. Putin invaded. I have the same problem with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has unequivocally blamed this whole thing on Putin. But
Yep.
your thoughts about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. crossing over? His family died in the wool blue Democrats forever. Uh, what are your thoughts on Robert F. Kennedy? And he could be in a really good position on top of the National Health Organization, the CDC, and all of those. What are your thoughts?
Well, I hope he cleans some things up there. I mean, I think that, there's a lot more to the COVID story, that we need to know. I think he has some good information on that. And it will be very interesting to see what he does. I don't like his stance on Russia. I don't like his stance on Israel. That was another reason I would never have voted for him, because once again, he's siding with the Zionists. Just like, and Tulsi's she's siding with the Zionists again. And it's it's very disheartening to see that. It's like, can anyone just care about the fact that there's children being killed over there? Little kids, like what, 11,000 children so far have been killed, I think. I don't want to start rattling off numbers because I'm not very good with numbers and statistics. What was it? Mark Twain, John, sorry, who was it that said that? Was it Mark Twain? I can't remember who said it about lies, big lies, and statistics. Well, those are some statistics, and I don't want to start throwing out numbers, but Tulsi, as the director of national intelligence, I think she she'll definitely stir the pot, and at the very least, hey, maybe she'll catch the person that put her on the no-fly list, right?
Yeah. When
I'm sorry, bad joke.
yeah, no. When I look at like Tulsi being put on top of uh, the National Intelligence Service, she's on top of the CIA, the FBI, 18 other intelligence services, however many there are. I thought immediately, why didn't he put her on top of defense? Why didn't he make her the head of the Pentagon, with her military background? But to put her
Or
on top,
Secretary of State.
oh, possibly Secretary of State and not Marco Rubio is like, Jesus.
Yeah, he's a
But
complete
anyway,
neocon.
getting back to her on top of the national security agencies, um, there's nothing she's going to be able to do. Those people are
He's gonna,
untouchable.
yeah, I think so. And then he's got what, John Ratcliffe heading up the CIA, and they're gonna butt heads. There's no question that they're not gonna agree because they are gonna have very different approaches. And I think, Tulsi will only be allowed to do so much. And I
Yeah,
think that Trump will rein her in.
but no, but what are your thoughts? I have had the feeling that Trump is going to be very vindictive and want revenge for
Yep.
how the Justice Department has politicized everything they do against him and other people who are not favorable to the official narrative. And so when I saw him put Tulsi in charge of all of this, I thought, oh my God, I think this woman, if she tries to do anything, she's going to be a target for elimination. Not by Trump, you're
Yeah.
fired, but my goodness, by these very entities that do this for a living. They will either
Yeah.
they will either destroy her reputation or they will destroy her. Now,
And that's what they do. That is what they do.
that's exactly right. Now, I wonder if he is going to use the Justice Department and the head of the FBI and the head of the United States Attorney, if he's going to use that
Matt,
to
Matt
go
Gates.
after everybody from Obama and Clinton's and everybody else in between. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, him, Matt Gates is the one that he's putting in as the what, Attorney General. I think that Matt Gates has made some statements about wanting to go after that, because there was, I mean, they did politicize their attacks on him. There's no question about that. And like him or don't like him, you can't persecute him. And what were the two assassination attempts on him too? Who was behind that? It's very suspicious when you have people that one of the people that did this was what, he was seen in a Blackwater, or was it a Black Rock, sorry, not Blackwater, Black Rock, I think, training program. And then another one was seen in wasn't he training with Ukrainian, with Azov, with the Azov battalion. And so, I don't know, will these people clean the swamp? There's a lot of neocons that he's put in there. I mean, but on the other hand, though, um yeah, I don't know. Tulsi, I don't think she's going to be able to do a whole lot, but I hope she sure tries.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on, post January 20th? Um, I would like to give Trump the benefit of the doubt that he really does want to change some things. I can't help uh, but approve of how he wants to bring back America's industrial base and those jobs
That
that
would be
were
good.
lost to China and Asia. Okay, I I I watched as Clinton and his cabal orchestrated NAFTA and started sending jobs across the border to Mexico. I have been there
Yeah.
to that side, the maquiladoras. I've seen it. Okay,
Yep.
uh, El Paso, uh, across the border, the deadliest city in the world. Uh,
Yep.
and
Well, my
when I
husband
saw
worked
that,
in Juarez.
Juarez, I mean, I've been to Juarez. I was there for several
Yeah.
weeks. And when I saw that, it's like, what are you doing? How can you explain to these American people who have lost these jobs to very cheap labor just across the border? And then Apple and all the rest of them start going to China. And
Yep.
nobody held that back. Not one of the presidents did anything to stop that. And I can understand how Americans are angry and how all those people in the Rust Belt, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, who lost those really good jobs that supported their families, I can understand how angry they are and how they would support Trump to bring back their jobs. I get that. I think if Trump could pull that off, that would be great. But I doubt that he can, and I doubt that there's enough time, and if he has 4 years left, to do that. The other thing about
Yeah.
Trump that I was really hopeful about, or I would say was a bit optimistic about, is he kept talking about wanting to uh, bring back a lot of those U.S. military bases that are around the world. Uh, the Pentagon budget is well over $1 trillion a year, and when you add in NASA, which is dual purpose, uh, when you add in all the intelligence agencies, The
Mm.
Pentagon budget is well over $1 trillion a year. The interest on American national debt of $36 trillion now equals the Pentagon budget. It's like
It's
1.2 or $3 trillion. And I think American people are looking at this, Deborah, and I want your opinion on that. I think, I hope that the American people are pissed off royally at all of this expense for these never ending wars, and yet at their sacrifice, as we've been talking about. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of people are very pissed off, but I think that they don't ultimately blame the wars. I think that they I don't think that they always know exactly what to blame. They just know that things aren't right and they're pissed off of. A lot of people blame foreigners. They blame immigrants. They blame illegal immigrants. And of course, Trump now is vowing to take real big steps against them. What he wants to declare like a state of national emergency and bring in the military to like now deport thousands upon thousands of people. And that, to me, it's very fascist. It's a very it's just it's very shock and awe. It doesn't seem like something that's going to be thought out and that there's going to be compassion and that there's going to be, I mean, there's no question that our borders are a wreck, they're a mess, but the way that people are being treated is already bad. People that are trying to come in illegally, they to be kept in cages and so forth and so on. A lot of these people are refugees who have come here because of wars in their countries, which the United States caused. And so, now they're going to be what? Sent back to the countries that they came from? Where are we going to send, if Palestinians came here, what are we going to send them back to Gaza?
Yeah,
He just seems very rash.
yeah, well,
He's a very rash man.
and how do you determine that? How do you determine that? I mean, you're going to question and interrogate all of these. Do you have enough time to do that?
Right?
Is it just going to be a
No.
vacuum cleaner job? You know what? The thing that really bothers me, okay?
Hmm.
He has said he will use the military to do this, and he will use the
Yep.
military to put down anti-Israeli protests across the country
Yep.
and on campuses. I mean, this is, oh my God, talk about trampling
Fascist.
on the Constitution. This
It's
is
fascist.
it's fascist. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I don't have another word for it because that's exactly what it was. And I'm thinking like the last time he was in office, he was also hard on deporting people. And there was a story I read about a guy who he came from Korea, I think from I don't remember which part of Korea. I'm sorry if it was north or south, but he was deported back there and he had come as a baby and had never had a birth certificate because for somehow he'd been born like before she was registered or after or somehow, but he never got a birth certificate. And he was deported back to that country and he committed suicide because he didn't know the language. He didn't know the culture and he was isolated. And how many of these people, Trump isn't the kind of guy that cares about people. He cares about himself. Okay. He cares about his ego. He cares about his image and power and his name and all this stuff and money and his people. He cares about people that he thinks are special and that are rich and highly placed like him. I mean, he doesn't care about you and me. He doesn't care about ordinary people or working class. I have my doubts. Yeah, okay. He says he's going to clean out the swamp. And I know a lot of people believe he will, but they believed he would last time and he didn't do it then either. And 4 years, you're right. It's a very short time. It just seems very drastic and rash what he plans to do with, the migrants and illegal immigrants and so on. And how will that fix our problems? Now, like if you get rid of all the people that are picking the fruit, will Americans want to go and pick fruit? Are they going to want to go break their backs picking the fruit that I just don't know. I wish they would. I mean, there was when I was a kid, I picked fruit. I did that in the summer, and it wasn't that bad. But these days, people are just, they have too much pride to do things like that. I think we've been spoiled. And I think a lot of Americans also are just in denial. And a lot of people are just kind of living in a fantasy world. They're playing video games and escaping from reality as much as they can because it's just too scary what's going on. I mean, I'm Gen X. I was born the very first year of Gen X. I'm 1965, right? So Gen X, which is, my first year, we can get Social Security for the first time in 2030, right? Which is, I'm 59 now, so that's just 6 years away, 2030. And I just don't believe I'll ever have that. I've paid into it, God knows, but I don't think I'll ever collect any of it. And I'll be surprised if Gen X gets anything because, once the boomers have taken everything, there's not going to be much left.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I'm pretty cynical about everything right now.
Well, I think we all should be pretty cynical, pretty skeptical, and be questioning
Yeah.
everything. Uh, I think in terms of Social Security, uh, I don't think it's going to hurt people that, like myself, who are receiving it now. I certainly hope not, or people like yourself who are very close to it. But I think what they're
I
going to
don't
do
know.
is, I think what they're going to do is they're going to really eliminate it for the younger generations. It will not be, they will not be paying into Social Security. They'll be put on, do whatever you can to arrange for your retirement, but the government's not going to help you. Uh,
Invest.
I want to kind of finish on this note. It's kind of a comparison between the United States and Russia. As you well
Oh,
know better than anyone, Russia today is not the Soviet Union. Russia
no, it's
today
not.
is not communist. Russia today
Not at
is a
all.
hybrid of capitalism. It is a capitalist country, but it is not the unrestrained predator capitalism that exists in the United States.
Thank
Now,
goodness.
yeah, really, thank goodness. Um, I want to ask your opinion about this because I think you have
Hmm.
a pretty good idea. Um, Russia has made it clear that it is finished with the United States and the West.
Yep.
It took a long time for President Putin to give up his fairy tale dream that Russia could become part of the EU and NATO and be friends with everybody. But he realized after many years and during this conflict, this war in Ukraine, that the United States and NATO could not be trusted. Now, what I have been focusing most of my attention on is not the stuff we're talking about today, but
Right.
this new world order that Putin has
Mhm.
been talking about for several years, the emerging new world order that is replacing American hegemony and domination. In other
BRICS.
words, the BRICS plus movement. They
Yeah.
just met here in Russia in Kazan. There were over 20,000 delegates from around the world, 36 countries
Wow.
involved. And Deborah, the official statements are not very antagonistic or belligerent. They're very
No.
they're very nice, and we're just talking about sovereignty. We're talking about equality. We're talking about avoiding American militarism, war, and the politicizing of the economy, the dollar. But when you talk to people, it is all about de-dollarization.
Yep.
That's what it's about. Russia, China, India, uh, 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 the Middle East, the Emirates, and others are now trading in their own currencies, not using the dollar. They're setting up their own investment bank. They're setting up their own equivalent of the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. They're working on this right now as I speak in Moscow. Representatives from around the world. Deborah, Donald Trump has said that BRICS is America's greatest threat. And you know what? If he realizes this, Deborah, that BRICS, a new world order not based on domination, war, the militarization of everything, including the dollar, maybe Donald Trump, as a businessman, will recognize he needs to become one amongst equals in this new
Yeah.
emerging world order, and we can all take hope. If I have any hope for Donald Trump as a businessman, if he recognizes what is really happening, he tries to become one among all of these emerging centers of power, of influence around the world. Your thoughts?
Well, I think Donald Trump, if he wanted to make the dollar strong again, he should end all the sanctions, okay, against Russia, China, all these countries, and the sanctions, because it's this economic crippling that the United States has caused, which has created BRICS, really. I mean, BRICS wouldn't they wouldn't exist if they'd been able to function within the system that there was, but they weren't because of all these sanctions, that were just crippling their businesses and making it hard on all these people. And so what did they said? Fine, we're done with this crap. We're going to start our own, and I don't blame them. And I love BRICS. I hope they succeed. I truly, truly do. I wish that the United States would move to a mixed market economy instead of just this blanket capitalist ideology. Blanket ideologies are so bad. Communism as a blanket ideology didn't work, right? Okay. Totalitarianism didn't work. Okay. Capitalism as a blanket ideology doesn't work. We need a mixed market economy. Canada has a pretty decent mixed market economy. China has a very nice mixed market economy. It's where, they can take all these different things and weave them together. So you had like capitalism, you could have a little socialism, you could have a little bit of everything and just make it work that way. But I don't think Trump's going to do that. And I don't know about Trump being a person among equals. I think he always sees himself as someone that's better than everyone else, being kind of a malignant narcissist, which is what I think he is, as well as a compulsive liar, which is why I don't believe any of his promises, because he's lied so many times. And when you get somebody that just lies and lies and lies and lies, you can't believe them anymore. So I don't know. If he ended the sanctions, I think that would go a long way toward making the dollar strong again. I really do.
Yeah, that's a good thought. And there's no doubt that these sanctions have boomeranged on the United States and all of
Oh,
Europe,
yes.
including Japan, including
Karma.
Australia. Yeah, yeah.
There's your karma.
Karma's a bitch, isn't it, when it comes back? Uh, so,
Oh, it's a suka.
so Deborah, I am
Yes,
holding out a great deal of hope for BRICS. Uh, my
me
concern
too.
is the United States as the one indispensable, exceptional nation. Barack Obama articulated that very clearly. Uh, has two choices. One, to join the international family as one among equals, or to continue on this suicidal path to self destruction. And if the United States does not join, it will fall very quickly
Yep.
into economic, social, and political collapse. And Americans will not recover as did the Soviet people who had suffered throughout centuries, who lived just above the poverty line, who learned how to survive, but Americans are not positioned to survive. Deborah,
No, and we have guns. So when the collapse comes, there's going to be guns. The Soviet Union, they weren't awash with guns like we are. And so when they collapsed, it was kind of peaceful, right? I was there during that when that happened. And it was people protested, but it was very peaceful. And even the police marched right along with them, to protest. In the United States, we're awash with guns. We have school shootings just about every week now, mass shootings. And it's just like an everyday thing now. It's like normal news now. And it's insane. It's truly insane. And when this place collapses, it's going to be like the zombie apocalypse here. It's going to be like Mad Max. I mean, I don't know. I don't even like to have to think about it. It's frightening. It's terrifying. And I don't know how we'll survive it.